And the question is this the end for William Ruto? Who will prevail between the lion and the fox?
Constitution making, and this is from my own head, is a function of wealth.
The genius here is having a constitution written that the masses can't believe they actually participated in writing.
Yeah.
Good evening, viewers, and welcome to the Bad Samaritans. The Bad Samaritan describes the relationship between the advisor and the advised. It suggests, do as I say, not as I do. For many years, the West prescribed to Africa development models that they themselves never used. In fact, having secured their status in world dominance, they proceeded to kick the ladder to ensure that the developing world remained ill-advised and underdeveloped. The Bad Samaritans is inspired by a book of the same title, authored by a South Korean Cambridge economics professor. In this show, we break down the truth that baffles us. They were simply bad Samaritans. Thank you. I am JM, your host. On my left is Peter Nguni, the capitalist, and on my right is Kevin Miner, the realist. This week, we debate the cost of politics to economics. At our stage of economic development, what political system should we adopt? Presidential or parliamentary? And what form of democracy do we require? We look into history to see what the up-and-coming countries did. We also discuss Kenya's current political system and the imminent constitutional referendum following the launch of the BBI report during the month of November. Gentlemen,
Yes.
this is the conversation a lot of our viewers, fans, have been waiting for us to have.
Yes.
BBI and what it means for the country.
Yes.
And I'll get on to our question number one.
Yes.
Should the Constitution be a product of elite interests or Mwananchi interests? Something we've discussed before, but in light of BBI, I think we need to consider it afresh.
It's a very easy question to answer, and it should be elite interests. Never in the world has Mwananchi written a constitution. You know why? Because constitution making, and this is from my own head, is a function of wealth.
Yes.
See, in the second treatise of government by John Locke, when you had someone had found a little bit of possessions on their land, put them together, they gathered a little bit of wealth. Then they saw their neighbors had done the same thing. Then they soon realized that they needed to write a law that governed them and governed their property. And it's because they had amassed a little bit of wealth. Now, you cannot have people that are of a subjugated class writing a constitution to those who own capital, those owners of capital. But with that said as well, it does not mean that the subjugated class should not be taken care of. They should be taken care of because there's something we call consent gain, and there's something we call consent loss. Now, if the ruling class has consent gain from the masses, then it means they have the impetus and gravitas to rule over the people. And that gravitas can only be given by the people. So they should be aware and they should take care of the interests of the people. Not to say that the people should not participate in constitution making.
Good point. I'll just give some context there from political theory. Vilfredo Pareto talks about elite circulation theory. And I'll talk about this towards the end as well. And he says history is and always will be a graveyard of aristocracies. And basically what he's saying is that nations are condemned to be ruled by the business and political elite.
Absolutely.
Those higher up in society who have more resources, more knowledge, typically will fashion a system that will mostly benefit them vis-a-vis the subjugated class that Kevin is talking about. So I just wanted to give that context for the viewer. I wanted to break that down.
So
what's your view?
I think we are living in a world where we don't have very many monarchs. Dictatorship is not the in thing. Well, we've had this conversation on the Bad Samaritans several times. Sometimes a dictatorial system is a lot better than what we are having now. I think the beauty of designing a constitution should make the Mwananchi think that he designed.
But he designed it?
Yes.
That's a good point.
That is the beauty. We don't have any examples, sorry.
Sorry about that.
We don't have any examples, like you say, where the Mwananchi designed a constitution. They do not have the money to design a constitution. Which means...
It's not even a priority.
It's not
you
a
guys
priority.
Are so elitist. You're so elitist.
It's just being real.
Being realistic. The genius here is having a constitution written that the masses can't believe they actually participated in writing. That's it.
But what about the interests and the voice of the masses? Surely.
I mean, are we going to go... You see, the mistake we make is this. If you give it to a Mwananchi to go and draw up a constitution, it's like drawing up a dodo. You know dodo? Everyone would want... everyone would want their interests, and I want to marry 3 wives, and then, I want my cow. I want new shoes. I want. Let me tell you, they're thinking of surviving. Let the person with the time of thinking about some law, some constitution making, some how we are going to choose a prime minister or a president. Let them do that. If you give it to the subjugated class, and I don't mean to sound bad or to sound elitist as you say.
You're being realist.
I'm just being real.
That's your character here. You're the realist.
So the capitalist in me would take the same position, but from a different view. Chris Kirubi, who's quite wealthy, says this. He is wealthy. But if Kenyans were wealthier, he will be even more wealthy. So while he wants to sell biro pens to people, he wants people to afford more biro pens.
Absolutely.
Right?
So that he can make more money.
So the elite, they actually have to design it in a way that lifts
people out of poverty.
That's
a good point. I will caution one thing, however, from history. In the year 2001, Brazil finally got a Labour president by the name Lula da Silva. Before 2001, Brazil was ruled mostly by elite interests, big money, big huge corporations, people from Portugal, and very dynastic links of those kinds. And the poor people in Brazil really suffered. There was no social security, for example. There was no support for a lot of these people. There was no policy to assist these people get themselves out of poverty in terms of even access to education, access to jobs, finding ways to reinvent themselves in life when the economy went through moments of bursts. And so if you look at the data from Brazil in the last 20 years, under De Silva and Dilma Rousseff, you actually see huge changes in terms of these huge gains for the Mwananchi of Brazil. And without people like Lula suffered for decades, for 30, 40, 50 years, and even before that. And that's what happens if you then ignore too much of the Mwananchi interests.
That's true.
But let's get into question number 2. Is a parliamentary system of government the silver bullet that will solve our cyclic political tension? Every 5 years, we have a bit of tension, obviously. A bit. And, no, in fact, that's an understatement. You will forgive me. I schooled in Britain. And in Britain, they say a bit to mean a lot. A hell of a lot. So I picked up that tradition.
And you're calling us elitist.
Anyway, so we go through a lot of tension. Anxiety. Economy takes a beating. What do we need to do to solve that problem?
Look, it is not the silver bullet to get us out of the tensions because of one thing called ethnicity. See, when we go to the ballot to elect a president, we group up in ethnic cocoons. The Kikuyus, the Lus. We can actually predict how the next election will come out based on the candidates, all right, because of ethnic numbers. Now, should it go to Parliament, all right, we will carry those same parliamentary parties to Parliament, right? You will have ODM representing Luo Nyanza, you will have Jubilee representing the Kikuyu and the Kalenjin, you will have Wiper representing the Kambas, you will have ANC representing the Luyas, you will have four people representing the Kisis. Now, what you have done is taking these parties that participated in a presidential election, put them in Parliament, and told them, please, can you behave in a parliamentary system? Now, what you're actually doing, you've just taken a brain of someone from someone's head and put it in another person's. They will behave the same. Now, let me give you an example. If we are going to have a parliamentary system today, and Raila Odinga is Prime Minister, okay, and he's deposed tomorrow, will we have ethnic tensions in Kibera and Kisumu? Yes or no?
Yes.
Will we have them? So what have we changed?
No, but that's attached to Raila.
It is attached to Raila.
But our country will not always be beholden to Raila. You know?
So
Raila will come on. Personalities will come and go.
True, but I believe that view is very minimalistic. Our country has been designed to always look at tribe first.
Yes.
I have not seen in any of the BBI talk, the silver bullet you're talking about. The silver bullet is whatever can be designed to remove tribes out of the equation of democracy. And in Kenya, we don't have that yet. And here is where now it becomes really, really bad for Kenyans, is what you're talking about. Every election, we have violence. And from the capitalist side of view, the violence is not only on the people. The violence is on the fiscal state, the economy of Kenya.
Absolutely.
So we're talking about this. Tanzania, for the last 30 years, has produced GDP growth of, let's just say, average of 5% per year. But this is the tortoise. It's always there, steady, moving, right? Kenya will have a year where they'll do 10%, and another year they'll do -1, because we had 2 elections in that year. What we need to do is design a system that whatever shenanigans go on in Parliament do not affect central bank, do not affect the Monanchi, and I have not seen that yet.
And I think that's the parliamentary system of government that ODM is proposing, and that even Mount Kenya MPs allied to Uhuru Kenyatta are proposing. You know, they're basically saying, if we shift the theatre of contestation away from the streets into Parliament, where you have an executive prime minister who will be, really head of government, head of cabinet, maybe even he will be the person, he'll have significant control over who will be the chief of defense forces. This kind of thing, then you really deconcentrate the powers of the presidency, and then the electorate begin to focus on the political parties and the MPs who will represent them. And when they're sent to Parliament, they decide.
True, but as a capitalist, you've still not solved my problem.
That is true.
The day that, let's just say right now, again, Raila is Prime Minister, and you have ODM and Jubilee, for example, both on the same side and commanding Parliament. Do I see a situation where they don't give themselves a pay increase on day one? No. Do I see a situation where they start putting more social security resources on the ground? No. To your point, and I think you can mention, like, our system of counties is already flawed.
It is. It is. And I told you earlier, we make a very big mistake in this country, sometimes to listen to people who actually are not doing it in the other countries.
Bad Samaritans.
The Bad Samaritans. We have this thing like calling representation, or we don't feel included enough. Now, I don't see any need for us to have 47 counties. For example, all right? Tanzania has mikoa, what they call provinces. They run like clockwork, all the way from the top until the provinces. All right? Each part of Tanzania is developing at a faster rate than we're developing here. All right? They don't need to be having represented people, nominated MCAs and
Thanks, Kevin. We'll pick it up after the break. Welcome back. In the first half of the show, I asked whether the Constitution should be a product of elite interests or monarchy interests. According to PK the capitalist, what's important is creating the perception that the people have a voice, that they have a say in the making of the Constitution. They must have that. According to Kevin the realist, only the bourgeoisie, or those who own property, according to the works of John Locke and others, and resources, should be permitted to make the Constitution. Gentlemen, before we get into question number 3,
yes,
we're talking about whether a parliamentary system will be the silver bullet to sort out our cyclical political tensions. And I think the proposal that will come out very strongly from ODM and others in the next year will be a proposal for posterity, having the position of executive prime minister. I think that could actually be able to sort out our tensions, not entirely, but at least somewhat. But anyway,
we have to stay optimistic.
let me tell you to sort out, to give someone a job, definitely.
So on to question number 3, which is really a follow-up. BBI will radically shake up the Kenyan executive structure of government. Right? If we have the position of executive prime minister, for example, that changes William Ruto's game plan.
That is true.
For 2022, it fundamentally changes succession planning. And the question is this the end for William Ruto? Who will prevail between the lion and the fox? So, Machiavelli in The Prince says, as a prince is forced to know how to act like a beast, he must learn from the fox and the lion, because the lion is defenseless against traps and the fox is defenseless against wolves. Therefore, one must be a fox in order to recognize traps and a lion to frighten off wolves. That's the Machiavelli rendition of the difference between the fox and the lion. Now the lion here is Raila Odinga. The lion is Uhuru Kenyatta. Right? The established politicians. But then you've got the cunning fox in William Ruto. And the question is, what does the future look like for him vis-a-vis BBI?
Let me tell you this. For a man who has worked his way up from being Eldoret North MP to being a deputy president within such a short time, it's not time to underrate him. Right? This man will survive. And let me tell you, of everybody else, he has the most options. Should we go into a parliamentary system, right? Should we go into even a presidential system with a non-executive premiership? His headache of having to appease the big tribes like Gema and the Luyas will be sorted out. Right? And let's look at it this way. Maybe even William Ruto does not need proportional representation of Gema to actually be prime minister, because it could be a threat to him. Gema could have their hands in some place of the body that will prevent him from making some key decisions, or they might depose him. And therefore, of everybody, he has the most advantage.
So you're saying BBI might actually be a blessing in disguise for William Ruto? Executive Prime Minister.
Executive Prime Minister. He can be Executive Prime Minister very easy. I think right now he has a lot of sway in Parliament.
What's your take? Let me take you to. Again, I look at things as a capitalist, right? I'll take you to Britain not too long ago. David Cameron wanted to sway things his way, and he had one of these elections, and it definitely did not work out for him on the Brexit.
This is the
Brexit strategy. And the country has spent the last 3 years in a quagmire. Pretty much, they go to 2 steps forward, 1 back, and they are now on their 3rd prime minister.
And they will succeed with Boris.
Whether or not they succeed, you look at this as a factor of making a chess move, right? Mr. Ruto, Dr. Ruto, has a lot better chess pieces to deal with in the parliamentary system. It's money.
Yes.
It's so much easier
than in the presidential system.
It's so much easier to buy 15 people than it is to buy 8 million people. Yes. So at this point, if I have a duffel bag of money, all I need to do is promise 3 cabinet ministers to one person, and Gema will fall. Because the one thing the Kikuyu nation does not mess around with is money. And if money starts pointing its direction, it's for us who are old enough, we remember Moi times, and you remember the people who were in there. The Kamodos were always in government, right? So the idea that you don't have more Kamodos in this in this day and age in Gema, what I think BBI will do, and what I think now having a parliamentary system will do, it will make it a lot easier for someone as smart as Ruto to make his place. Just giving him more ways to design a winning system for it.
So what you're saying also is that people from smaller communities might even stand a better chance of becoming head of government in a parliamentary system.
Absolutely.
Than in a presidential system.
You can have a Turkana prime minister, very easy. You can have a jump. You can have people from the Turkic community, Oromo. Easy.
But what we've not answered here, guys, is how this helps Mwananchi. Because I still do not see.
That's a very good question.
It will. Fundamentally, it will help Mwananchi, because what's going to happen is that stakes are going to be lowered. Politicians are going to stop instrumentalizing ethnicity. They're going to stop fanning the flames of ethnic identity for their own political gain. They will now, or at least they will do that far less, because now they will have the arena of parliament to sort it out amongst themselves, and then the Mwananchi can go on with their work, so that every 5 years we're not having a slump economically. We're not trying to restart the economy. We're not suffering a crisis of having 2 elections in 60 days. Totally unnecessary.
Then they agree. The theatre of war will change from being the presidency to constituencies. Let MPs fight amongst themselves.
Absolutely.
And then later on, a week, 2 weeks later, then they can choose their prime minister. It's a protracted process, but it also ensures the country against some form of violence.
Some shock.
Yes.
Absolutely. So, gentlemen, why don't you give us your final remarks here?
The real violence on the Kenyan people is the fiscal assault on the economy every election period. In the last 30 years, Kenya has had a total of 13 years of economic slowing due to electioneering, while Tanzania has had none. Whatever the country does, we have to make sure that we have a system that lifts more people out of poverty. While the Mwananchi cannot do much about the constitution, the good news is that the slowdown in the economy during elections has hit the elite class where it hurts, in their pockets. And therefore, there is a willingness to address the current constitution crisis around election periods. And that is my point.
Thank you, BK. Kevin.
BBI is a great opportunity to discuss this thing called tribe. And a parliamentary system is not foolproof enough to prevent ethnic tensions every election cycle. Here is why. If ODM today was the ruling party in parliament, and Raila Odinga was prime minister, and William Ruto, the Eldoret North MP, gangs up with Gema and Kalenjin coalitions in Jubilee, and in parliament, and they depose Raila tomorrow, will Kibra or Kisumu or Kondele know peace? Absolutely not. If 90% of Gema votes for a Gema candidate, if 90% of Luos give votes to a Luo candidate, if 90% of Kalenjins give votes to a Kalenjin candidate today, if 90% of all Kambas give votes to a Kamba candidate, how will that look in parliament? Because there is no fixed term for a prime minister, power-obsessed MPs will make it their pastime doing coups on prime ministers. In short, we will be having a prime minister every week. Maybe we should just stick to the system that gives us trouble every 5 years instead of the one that will give us problems every week. And that's my point.
Oh boy. Hey, Kevin. Wilfredo Pareto said, history is and always will be a graveyard of aristocracies. Our problem as a country is that our political elite have not agreed. We need to amend the constitution like yesterday. We need to abandon this Ferrari presidency for the pro-box presidency. If we have elite consensus, we will avoid elite contestations which often spill over into the violence that we experience. More specifically, we need to move away from a presidential system towards a parliamentary system of government. This will shift tensions away from voters and shift it into the chambers of parliament. That will strengthen our political parties and remove the zero-sum element of the much fought-after presidency. A constitution made by the elite will make Mwananchi happy. A constitution by the people, on the other hand, will only further constrain us from realizing our potential. And that is my point. Thank you for joining us again for another episode of the Bad Samaritans. Remember that we are on YouTube and your TV screens as well. You can find us on GoTV, Star Times, and Pang Free to Air. Have a good evening.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.